Welcome to the fourth video in the series based on the book Bible Basics for Catholics by Dr. John Bergsma. If you have not seen the introduction, the Abrahamic covenant and the Noahic covenant, links are there in the description box. We ended the last session with a high note that the Noahic covenant, there was a new beginning. In Genesis chapter 9, we are seeing a certain fall of Noah, where Ham sees the drunken Noah in the nakedness and Noah's curse to Ham's son Canaan. Confused, right? Yes, it is little strange. There are few possible answers for this which involve a complicated study in its original language. Let us not forget the motive, that is to see the big picture of salvation. But let us understand few things. Seeing nakedness is a serious offense, and it resembles Adam's fall. Like conception of the fruit, here it is wine, nakedness, shame, curse, etc. Then we can see the Babel story, widespread of rebellion against God. After the incident of Babel, the humanity is scattered. Family relationship with God is broken. To fix, God chooses one person called Abraham to bring back blessings to the rest of humanity. Old Testament is a book of salvation and blessings to the human beings. There are three specific things that God promised to Abraham: a great nation, a great name, and the blessings to everyone. But God is going to work each of these things through covenants. In Genesis chapter 15, God comes to speak Abraham and tries to encourage him. But Abraham was upset because he doesn't have any children. For giving him assurance, God tells him to bring a bunch of animals, lay them out and cut them into pieces. Then everything gets dark and a torch and fire pot appear and proceed to move between the animal pieces as God speaks to Abraham. We feel this as strange. Actually, ancient readers would immediately have recognized the ritual which God and Abraham perform in Genesis chapter 15 as a typical covenant-making ceremony. Jewish tradition calls this event the covenant between pieces. It means, if I do not keep my covenant commitments, may I be killed like these animals. Torch and fire pot represents God. We may think how cruel God is, but God was coming to Abraham's human level and was partaking in the ceremony. Scholars call this as divine condensation. This covenant was made in Genesis chapter 15, but in chapter 16 itself we can see a mini fall where Abraham and Sarah doubts God's plan or promise and the relations with Hagar. In chapter 17, God cleans up everything and saying, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless. What does it mean? God is meaning that pay attention to me and clean up your act. Also, to highlight the connection with the promise of great name, God gives Abraham a greater name, Abraham. Great name is connected to kings or well-known fathers who will come in their family tree. To make this as a covenant, God asked Abraham for circumcision. There are two possibilities for this. One is maybe as a punishment since Abraham slept with Hagar. Another is, if I don't keep my covenant commitments, covenant duties to God, may I be cut off. In Genesis chapter 15, Abraham cut off animals, but in 17, he has to cut himself. By the end of Genesis 21, nearly everything seems to have worked out for Abraham. The promise of great nation and the great name worked into as a covenant between God and Abraham. But the last and best promise of universal blessing to humanity has not been mentioned. The answer comes in Genesis chapter 22. We all know the story of Isaac, right? Yes, if we clearly read the Bible, we can see Isaac is the one who carries wood to the mountaintop. That means Isaac is more healthier than Abraham. So, if Abraham laid Isaac on the top of altar, it should be by Isaac's willingness only. Yes, he agreed, and where else we can see one and only or only begotten son carrying wood for his own sacrifice or there to be sacrificed? Yes, Calvary. Genesis 22 is the Calvary of Old Testament. St. John actually makes the connection by the famous verse, "For God loved the world that he gives only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life." The phrase only begotten was also used 3 times for Isaac in verse 2, 22 and 16. St. John does not want us to show that Jesus is the new Isaac, but greater than him, because Jesus is going through the sacrifice and he is actually dying. Also, Abraham was prophesying about Jesus when he says, God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering. Yes, let us look this phrase once again. God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering. Yes, a day when God will in fact provide himself as a lamb. Natural meaning of Abraham's prophecy is fulfilled in Genesis 22 itself, when the angel stopped Abraham from sacrificing Isaac and substitutes a lamb. A deeper sense after some 2000 years. He is the first person to predict Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. The location is also important. The land of Moriah was later called Mount Moriah, and it is the location that King Solomon chose to build the temple, which was within the site of Calvary. Let us rewind a little. In the beginning of this incident, God was asking to Abraham, "Are you willing to participate?" We can understand in such a way that, "Are you willing to participate in the sacrifice I am going to do?" Now, the term seed, which God uses in the blessings to Abraham, it could refers to Abraham's descendant or one particular descendant. Both are correct, as blessings comes through Israel and a particular seed, Jesus Christ. Mount Moriah is easy to draw. The altar is just a pile of round stones with Isaac on the top, and Abraham with a big knife completes the figure. As we wind up the covenant with Abraham, there is a question. Why did the sacrifice of animals in Old Testament cause God to forgive the sins? Jewish tradition comes up with an answer from the near sacrifice of Isaac. Yes, near sacrifice. That means the willingness and consent of both parties, Isaac and Abraham. This is so far we progressed in the salvation history. Adamic covenant, Noahic covenant, and Abrahamic covenant. Thank you.